Oh, I am recording. If you want to turn your camera off, you're more than welcome to do that. I'm going to do the same thing just to make sure that Wi-Fi stays strong on this end. If you're watching the recording or if you jump on a little bit late, there is no worries. Just got a quick question from Tony. This will be about 45 minutes to an hour with some time at the end for Q&A. If you have to jump off, come back on, you are free to do so. I don't want anybody to stress about that. Like I said, I know we're nearing dinner time for a lot of people, and you will get the recording. So if you're here, you're registered, and you will get the recording for this tonight. After we wrap up and the recording is saved to my computer, I will be sending that out to everybody. So I know that there are a lot of people that are jumping on a little bit late, so I'm just going to go ahead and get started. I am very excited. So here we go. We're going to share my screen. Before I go into present mode, would you mind confirming that you can see this slide? Excellent. All right. So actually, let me turn my camera off. There we go. All right. All right. Well, welcome. Welcome. I am so happy that you are here. If you're here watching live, thank you. I appreciate you. Feel free to drop where you're calling in from into the chat. You guys can chat there throughout the entire hour that we are here. If any questions pop up while we're talking, again, feel free to put them in the chat there, and then I will address them just as soon as we wrap up during the Q&A. So if you're here, you already know what we're going to go over. I'm going to be teaching the 5 steps to start intuitive eating and to unlearn diet mentality. This is my passion. I am so excited to share this with you. So we're going to learn to stop dieting and embrace your intuition. So if you don't know who I am, hello, my name is Becky Boland. I'm a certified nutritionist, certified health coach, and a certified intuitive eating and food freedom coach. A little bit about me. I went from chronic dieting for years, honestly, to finally achieving the best results I've ever had within my first year postpartum, all thanks to making the switch to intuitive eating. And now I get to help fellow females to ditch diets, find food freedom, and get results that last. So this is, like I said, my absolute obsession. I talk about this day in and day out on social media, to my friends, to my family, to my clients, to myself, to my 2-year-old who couldn't care less. This is just absolutely what I love the most. So we're going to go ahead and dive right in. So what is intuitive eating, right? Honestly, when it comes to this concept, to eating intuitively, intuitive eating, listening to your body, body response, however you want to phrase it, sometimes it's easier to start with what it's not first. So intuitive eating is not a goal weight, right? We are not here to diet. Is weight loss possible with intuitive eating? Absolutely. I lost weight with intuitive eating. A lot of my clients lose weight with intuitive eating, but intuitive eating is not a diet. So weight loss is not the goal here. So intuitive eating is not a goal weight, right? Contrary to popular belief, it is not living off of donuts, pizza, snack food, soda, ice cream. A lot of people get this confused, right? Because when we talk about intuitive eating, those things are allowed. Nothing is off limits. This is complete food freedom. And so lots of people focus on the foods that are now in their life that were not in their life on a regular basis when they were dieting. But that does not mean that intuitive eating throws your health to the wayside. Intuitive eating is not a diet. There will be no food rules. We're not following some meal plan or strict guidelines here. It is not a set meal plan. Meal planning and meal prep can be a wonderful tool on your intuitive eating journey, and we will talk about that today, but it is not the idea of following a strict meal plan, nor is intuitive eating a list of rules that you need to follow or live by. Intuitive eating is lots of things, including what I like to call a set weight point. So this is probably a new concept for a lot of people. And what it means is This is the weight that your body wants to be, right? So think about like a shoe size, like your set weight point just is. You don't try to have a smaller size foot. You don't try to have a larger size foot. Your shoe size is your shoe size. Your set weight point is the weight at which your body functions the most optimally. So peak function. And I'm talking, yes, energy and sleep quality, maybe fitness, if that is something that you're interested in. But I'm also talking about internally functioning optimally. So your digestion, your hormone balance, your thyroid function, metabolism, what we eat and how much we eat and how we eat, intuitive eating, all plays a role in how our body functions. Our set weight point is the weight that our body truly wants to be. You can, at this point or at any point, be above your set weight point. You can be at your set weight point, or you may be below your set weight point. None of this is a problem. None of this is wrong, but intuitive eating will show you and help you understand what that set weight point is. Intuitive eating is listening to your body. And more importantly, to take that further, it's understanding what your body is saying. So we're going to talk a lot about listening to your body today, because it's probably A, not exactly what you think it is, and B, probably a bit more challenging than you realize. Intuitive eating is finding and utilizing tools that feel good to you without worrying about whether or not somebody else is using that tool or how they're using it. So it doesn't matter how somebody else's body looks, how many social media followers they may have listening to them. Nothing matters unless it works for you. I like to say to my clients all the time, take what speaks for you, take what works for you and what feels good, and leave the rest. And intuitive eating is paying attention to both your physical and your mental needs and desires when it comes to food, nourishment, and also movement. So this class is not about fitness, it's not about movement, but we very much can take the principles that we learn through intuitive eating and apply them to our movement and to our exercise. So I know firsthand, I will be the first to admit that it feels like starting this journey and the idea of ditching diets for good, right? And leaving all of that behind us to become an intuitive eater seems like we're at the base of a really tall, really steep, really scary mountain, right? I get it. It's really overwhelming. And I know that there are fears that come with that. So if you're like me, or if you're like how I was before I came through to the other side and am a successful intuitive eater, you might be concerned that if you stop dieting, you'll gain weight. You might be concerned that your body is always just going to want the unhealthy stuff, right? You're only going to eat pizza and ice cream and snacks, or fill in the blank, right? You're concerned that if you quote unquote listen to your body, that you're never going to eat vegetables again, right? You're never going to want to eat that vegetable. And you're concerned that you're never going to actually crave or want the healthy food. These were all fears that I have. So if anything seems familiar, let me know what sounds like a thought that you have had or a thought that you might be having right now before we truly get started. Share that in the chat. And if I missed anything, if there are any concerns or fears that you have surrounding intuitive eating that have either kept you from looking further into it in the past or have you a little bit uneasy about it right now, drop those in the chat too. Like I said, everything I see in there, we will go over through the Q&A. I am here for all of your questions. But here's the thing. I promise you this is true. We're just going to use donuts here as an example. Fill in the blank, right? With whatever food you're concerned you're going to overdo it with, okay? Eating donuts 100% of the time isn't actually listening to your body. You might think it is, especially in the beginning. And sometimes your body really is saying like, girl, eat the freaking donut, eat two. But the concept of believing that it's all you're ever going to want is false. I promise you might think I'm crazy. You might think this doesn't apply to you. You might think that you're the exception here. I promise you that this isn't actually the case. So the biggest mistake that I see people make when they're beginning their intuitive eating journey is that they forget that your brain is very much part of your body. So I like to say respect over restriction, right? Again, going back to that misconception that intuitive eating is just eating junk food and throwing your health or your weight to the wayside. That's really not the case. It's about respecting both logically what we know fuels our body, but also respecting mentally and emotionally the foods that bring us comfort. So for those of you who are new to my trainings or new to my social media pages or new to me, I'm a diehard foodie. My father is a chef and a restaurant owner. He also owns a scratch bakery, and he has owned both of those and worked in both of those since before I was born. So he's a French trained chef. We are just around food all the time. I grew up where food isn't just fuel, it's creativity, it's an art, it's a way to pass down traditions, right? It shows us insights into other cultures. It's a way to tell people that we love them and that we care about them. Sitting around the table for meals is a way to connect. So that's where I like to say I'm your friendly foodie nutritionist, right? You'll hear a lot of nutritionists, a lot of dietitians talk about how food is fuel, and that's true, but it's a lot more than that. And so when I talk about respect over restriction, I'm talking about respecting your body's needs from a functional nutrition standpoint, and also respecting what you're craving and what food can be outside of fuel. So let's dive in. So this masterclass is 5 steps to start intuitive eating, but you're going to get a ton of bonuses here because step 1 is actually broken down into 3 pieces itself. So step 1 is to learn to start listening to your body. And there's 3 aspects of this that we need to focus on first. So step 1, when tuning into your body, be sure you are tuning into your brain too. So I'm going to nip that mistake I see people making right in the bud, right? People forget that your brain is very much part of your body. And so this is where we really want to tune in first. This isn't actually as easy as you may think, because if you're like most women, especially in this day and age, your brain is likely full of false information that diet culture has been teaching to you for decades. So look at this little graphic here of thoughts that may be going on in your head, consciously or subconsciously, when you're making food choices, right? We label foods as good or bad. We think of guilt as an ingredient, or we even see foods marketed as guilt-free. That drives me nuts because food isn't good or bad. It's not a moral value. If you tell me that you were so bad last night, the first thing I'm going to do is ask you if you punched a puppy. Hopefully your answer is no, because that would be truly terrible. But usually when I ask why, someone says, oh my gosh, I ate so much dessert. Oh, I had a huge bowl of pasta. I was so bad. That doesn't make you bad. Food can't make you good or bad, okay? Guilt, not an ingredient. You couldn't add guilt to food if you tried, because it's not something that you can purchase and put into food. Drives me crazy. The idea that carbs are demonized. This one is going on way too long. I don't know how this lie has lived for so long. That you have to eat less in order to see results. Most people that I work with, I would say 95% of the women that I work with, actually end up needing to eat more, even if their goal is to weigh less. And then the idea of cheating. There's never been a positive connotation with cheating. There's no cheating when it comes to food. It's just not a test, right? So our brains are full of these thoughts that for so long we've been told are fact. And it can be really challenging to decipher whether diet culture is thinking for us or if we're truly thinking for ourselves. So let's make it a little bit simpler. In order to start listening to your body, including your brain, you have to understand just the basics of how your brain works. So there are 3 main areas of the human brain that we're going to talk about today. They each play a role in your current eating habits, but they will also each play a role in the new habits that you will form as an intuitive eater. So I won't get too scientific on you. That is not my jam, but this is very important to understand, right? So the first one I want to focus on, the first piece of your brain, is the reptilian brain. So this is going to be your most primal, instinctive part of your brain, almost animalistic, okay? If you want to think about it that way. Think about a lion, right? A lion in the jungle decades ago. A lion sees food, a lion eats food. It's as simple as that. The food is available, the lion is eating it. There's no complex thought going into why or how the lion is eating the food, right? So let's put this into a human example. This might be what kicks in first when you see maybe your favorite snack. So I've been craving nachos. I'm probably going to have some either tonight or tomorrow, because when you're craving food, hint, hint, you can eat it. But we're going to talk about nachos. I want some right now. So you see them on a menu maybe, or you see them being brought out to the table next to you. The primal instinctive part of your brain says, ooh, nachos, want them, need them, gonna order them, gonna eat them, delicious, right? This happens to all of us because this is how our brain works. But we can take it a little bit further than this. So the limbic brain, or the mammalian brain, is where our instincts, right, kick in. So this is going to be expanded awareness that we have as humans. So these are going to be feelings and emotions. A lot of people think that emotional eating is like this terrible thing that you have to stop doing. But the reality is that there's always feeling and emotion that goes into our eating choices. And so instead of trying to crush those down or avoid them or eliminate them, it's going to be really helpful to learn how to tap into them in a productive way. So becoming an intuitive eater doesn't mean you all of a sudden stop all forms of emotional eating, which this is a topic for another day, but there are several kinds of emotional eating, ranging from negative feelings, sad feelings, stress, all the way up to celebratory, happy feelings, right? Those are all emotions. So this part of our brain is important in our decision making too. So let's go back to that nacho example, okay? We know the instincts kicked in, right? Yum, want, need, gonna eat. So the feeling of awareness, that layer being added, might look like, wow, nachos are so good. They make me do a little happy dance and remind me of trivia nights at my favorite bar when I was in college, right? They bring me joy through these feelings and the taste and the memory. I'm really excited to eat these nachos. So I'm now connecting my instinct to the feeling part of intuitive eating. But again, we can take this one step further. Your rational brain. So this is what kicks in. This is our neocortex. This is going to kick in. And this is why, I say that it's false when people think intuitive eating means throwing your health to the wayside. This rational brain piece is really key to how we make eating choices that also honor our health, both mental and physical. Okay. So now we've got instinct plus feeling plus the rational brain we can call reflection. So think of this part of your brain almost like a filing cabinet for all of your memories. This is where you think about whether or not the food, the nachos in this example, feel good, right? So are they enjoyable during the process of eating them? You can also reflect to how you felt the last time you ate them. Were there any negative impacts that you experienced last time, mental or physical, that might make you want to change if and or how you decide to eat them again? So side note, my goal is to help you release food guilt, right, as a whole. I told you guilt isn't an ingredient. Food does not have a moral value. One food doesn't make you better or worse than another. We could do the same exact example. I'm using nachos, but we could really do the same exact thing with an apple, okay? So I want to help you release food guilt as a whole, but we are human. These feelings will come up from time to time because we're surrounded by them. We're surrounded by diet culture. So to give you an example, I teach people how to find food freedom and eat intuitively as a living. This is my job. This is what I live and breathe for. I love it. But I still will have feelings of guilt or shame sometimes come up because we have little slips like that. Like I said, we're surrounded by diet culture. So the reason I'm sharing this is because realistically, it could take you a very long time to truly heal your relationship to food, to change your mindset around it, and to be able to recognize when those diet culture, excuse my language, bullshit thoughts pop in your brain, to be able to say, oh, that was silly. Let me move on from this. It could take some time, right? But it doesn't mean that you have to wait to start intuitive eating. So back to the rational brain. Using the rational part of your brain along with the feelings and emotion and the primal instinct part of your brain, you're going to use all three together to make your decision. You use reflection, the rational brain, as a way to help you make a conscious choice of how you want to feel and act. There's no wrong decision. So based on these three areas of your brain, your choice could look like this one. You're going to eat the entire plate of nachos. That's a great choice. Nothing wrong with that. Maybe your reflection made you decide to have a smaller portion of them combined with something else, because you know from past experience that the whole plate doesn't make you feel good, but you still want to honor that craving and have some, right? That's a great choice too. Or based on your reflection, you may choose to not have any in this moment and enjoy them another time. That's a great choice as well. All of these choices are totally fine. They're totally acceptable. It's really based on what you feel in the moment. So again, listening to your body, learning how to do this doesn't happen overnight. This is a process. Think about it this way. You didn't learn all of the diet culture rules overnight. This happened over time as well. Okay. In fact, we actually start steering away from our intuition as infants, and we will get into that shortly. But this is a process. I'm not saying it's going to take as long to find food freedom as it did for you to get sucked into diet culture. I can't answer that for you. I'm just saying that a lot of people will give this idea, the concept of eating intuitively, a week or maybe even a month. And when they don't feel like it's clicking, they give up. But practice, 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 and you will get there. I really like to encourage you to look at each eating experience almost like an experiment, right? As a way to collect data points that you can then use to find patterns in your own thoughts and in your own body. Okay, so on the next slide, I'm going to share a list of reflection questions that you can ask yourself to help you tap into each of the three parts of your brain. If you signed up for this webinar, as early or as late as yesterday or this morning even, you should have received an email with the following graphic that you could have saved to your phone or to your computer. But don't worry, if you signed up later and you didn't get that email, just take a screenshot here. It is the same exact thing. So these reflection questions are going to help you tap into each piece of the brain that we just talked about. I'll leave this up for a minute and I'll read through them so that you have time to take a screenshot. This is an exercise that you can do. I recommend doing it no more than like one meal a day. You certainly don't want to overwhelm yourself by trying to do this with every single thing that you eat. But it's hard to tap into different aspects of our brain or to know which thought is coming from which piece of the brain. And so asking these questions and maybe doing a little bit of journaling of the answers can help you to get used to doing that so that you can understand where your thoughts are coming from and why they're coming, right? So instinctive brain, what food is available to you right now? Does anything that's currently available seem appealing? And then you could take it a step further. If not, okay, well, what would be appealing that is easily made available, right? The emotional brain. Think about what foods, textures, flavors, what do you enjoy? What do you find satisfying? What do you really love when it comes to food? What kind of foods give you a positive emotional response? What emotions are you feeling right now that might be influencing your decision? Right? We all know that sometimes when we just need a little comfort or we've had a bad day, we all have our go-to food that comes from feeling that emotion or that we crave when we have that emotion. Then take it into your rational brain. How hungry are you right now? What foods make your body feel really good physically? Looking at your current emotions, will food actually solve what's going on? What do I really need to cope with this, right? So just to throw this out there to make it very clear, there will be some days where one part of your brain dominates your decisions way more than the others. This is totally normal. This will happen. It's 100% fine. But the goal is to start tuning into all three parts of your brain on a more regular basis, which, by the way, eventually it does become, I don't want to say less intentional, but less of a practice, right? When you practice something and you get really good at something, it eventually becomes second nature and you're not going to feel like you're spending so much time making every food choice. This is the process, the journey to becoming an intuitive eater. Okay, so all of that falls under step one, which is learning how to start listening to your body. Step 2 is to know and understand your personal hunger cues. Listen to your body, right? You hear me and probably a lot of other professionals in this space use this phrase all the time. I probably say it like 50 times a day. I'm not even kidding. So we'd already talked about how your brain is a major component of this that's often overlooked. I never see anybody talking about that on social media. And it's such a huge piece of this that it was really important to me that we spend a good chunk of time discussing it. But of course, there are other aspects of this as well. So eating intuitively will include a ton of various different body responses that all mean something and are a form of your body communicating with you. But for now, because we're just getting started and these are the beginning steps, let's focus on the most basic form of listening to your body, which is hunger cues. So to make it really clear, hunger cues are the signs that your body is giving you when she needs food, AKA energy, right? So a lot of people freak out about calories. All calories, regardless of where they come from, are units of energy. So hunger cues are just signals that your body is saying it either needs a little or a lot of energy, okay? So you're probably familiar with this one. This is probably the most obvious and well-known hunger cue, which is your stomach growling, or whatever you want to call it, growling, grumbling, mumbling, whatever your phrase for this is typically the most popular sign that people think of when they think of hunger cues, but it's absolutely not the only sign. And for most people, your body is actually feeling hunger well before you hear your stomach growling, but we'll get into why this is the only one you may recognize in a minute. So each person will experience different signs of hunger. Here's a few common examples that have come from myself, from clients, and from other women that I collaborate with in this space. So like we talked about, a grumbling tummy. This is actually one of mine, feeling faint or fatigued. You might think that this is a very late sign of hunger, and for some people it may be. But for me personally, and I'm only sharing this because it's an example of what you will learn about your body, this is actually a really early sign of hunger for me. It's nothing intense. It only lasts a moment, but I'll have a brief moment of feeling a little bit lightheaded. And that to me is a very early sign that it's time to have a snack or start getting ready to have a meal, whatever time of day it is. Getting cranky or irritable or hangry, as a lot of people like to call it. I think I actually have a shirt that says hangry. I have to find that. That's a good one. Struggling to focus, your inability to concentrate. Maybe you are having a hard time working on a project, or all of a sudden you feel like your brain just doesn't want to do something anymore. That's usually a sign that it needs a little fuel. Or even just starting to think about food. Have you ever been sitting working on something or doing something completely unrelated to eating, and a specific food like pops into your brain and it seems super random? It's not random. That is your body telling you that it's starting to get hungry. Some people might experience like a tightness or a heavy feeling in their throat. You may get a varying degree of headache or stomach discomfort. So it could feel like, like a little uneasy or queasy. For some people, it might even hurt a little bit. But here's the thing. It's common for our bodies to lose the ability to give us signs of hunger after years of dieting, following food rules, and restricting food. So if you're sitting there and you're like, the only time I ever know I'm hungry is when my stomach is growling and I feel absolutely ravenous, this is probably what's going on. Think about it this way. If you've ever had a friend who, or maybe you are this friend, who never responds to a call, who never calls you back, they never respond to texts, they always decline invitations, or they always bail on invitations, eventually the invites stop coming, right? Either you stop sending the invite, or if you're that friend, hey, we all have that friend, the invites stop coming, right? Eventually your body does the same thing. So you've ignored her cues and her signals and her voice for years or decades because you've prioritized dieting. And so it's very possible that she stopped speaking to you in a lot of ways, hunger cues included. So it's kind of like a what's the point type situation, right? Which brings me to step 3. You can't listen to your hunger cues or know your personal hunger cues until you get them back. So again, if you're sitting there and you're like, I don't know when I'm hungry unless I'm super hungry or my stomach is growling, that means you're in a position where your body has essentially ghosted you in terms of hunger cues. The only signal you know is a rumbling tummy, you're super hungry. We're at a place where we have got to get your body speaking to you again. And don't worry, she will. This is totally possible, but it's going to take some trust building exercises to get there. So it's really, 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 really important to take this step, because it's going to become extremely frustrating and super disheartening to try to listen to a body that isn't speaking to you, right? This is what causes so many people to give up on intuitive eating before they even really give it a chance. But I don't want you to give up. I'm not going to let you give up, because I'm not exaggerating when I say that this is absolutely life-changing for the better. Like that feeling of knowing you'll never go on a diet again and that your health will be better than it ever has been is so freeing and so amazing. And to remove the stress and anxiety about going out with friends or date night or having a snack that you're craving, like to not have the stress surrounding those things anymore, is absolutely life-changing. So I'm going to teach you how to get your hunger cues back, because this is really important. So again, 5 steps for intuitive eating, but this step, this step 3 is broken down into 3 additional steps. So you're getting a lot of bang for your buck here. I really wanted to make sure you walked away with things that you could start doing right away. All right, so the first thing you need to do to start to get your hunger cues back is to stop with the limits, okay? No more calorie counting apps, no more tracking macros, no more point systems, no more portion control containers, no more weighing food. I get it. It's really scary to leave these things behind, but you have to quit, because let's be really super honest and transparent with each other. If those things were really working for you and getting you results and making you feel good and happy and satisfied and free, you wouldn't be here. You wouldn't be here live. You wouldn't be watching this recording. So I need you to trust this process. I need you to stop with these limits that you're putting on yourself. None of these things utilize your intuition. Okay. Your intuition is the most powerful, magical, and effective tool that you could ever have. In the beginning of your intuitive eating journey, I'm just going to put this out there, you will probably need more food than you're used to. And here's why. You're coming out of restriction mode, finally, which means your body is coming out of a state of distress. So yes, restriction and under eating, which like I said, 95% of the people that I work with, when I find out how much they are currently eating, are under eating by a large amount. And that puts a lot of stress on our body internally. So we need to get you to a point of being truly fed again. So you have to first commit to stop with the limits and tracking food. Okay. Then, and only then, can you start to give your body consistent energy. So this is part 2 of getting your hunger cues back. You like consistency, right? We all like consistency. We like when our expectations are met on a regular basis. We like when we get what we need, right? Your body does too. So the goal here is to let your body know that you're ready to start fueling her throughout the day when she needs it, and not when your diet says to. Okay, so this can almost feel counterintuitive, because again, we have let diet culture dictate how we eat, when we eat, what times we eat for years. And your body might not need things in that way. It might need food at totally different times than you're used to. It might need different amounts. It likely needs more. So in other words, we want to earn your body's trust back. So she starts inviting you to the party again, right? We talked about the invites stop coming when you ignore them for so long. Well, we want your body to invite you to the party again, give you hunger cues again, start talking to you again. You can do this by nourishing your body as a starting point every 3 to 5 hours or so. So some of these may look like meals. Some might look like snacks. Some might look like a couple of bites of something. How much you eat is, of course, going to be up to you and how you're feeling. But this is really an exercise in showing your body that you're ready to listen again. So if you notice that you're hungrier before those marks, that's totally fine, totally cool. Go ahead and eat earlier, right? But this is usually a pretty good starting point for people. Now, I know that there's going to be some people who either put this in the chat or message me afterwards and say, I'm not hungry at those times. Okay, well, if you're not getting hunger cues, how do you know, right? I'm not saying I want you to overstuff yourself for sure. We don't want to get to this like point of discomfort. But it can always be something super small, but this is how you're going to get those cues back. Think about it in terms of like energy or even gas in your car, right? You've been driving along, or in terms of energy, you've been working along throughout your day and you think, I haven't put any gas in the tank a while. I should stop super quick. Well, same thing. I haven't given my body a little boost of energy in a little while. I should stop and have something super quick, right? Once you start getting your hunger cues back, it's time to get acquainted with the hunger scale. So now you can't move on to step 3 of step 3. I'm getting a little confusing with my numbers here, but you can't really get acquainted with the hunger scale until you've started to get those hunger cues back. So this is what's going to help you understand your hunger cues on a deeper level. Let's use a scale of 1 to 10 for now, right? 10 means you're so full. So actually, let me start with hungry because I'm going to mess up my slides here. 1 is you're so hungry, you feel like you can eat anything, right? What's that saying? So hungry, you could eat a horse, right? We all have had that feeling. A lot of people will say, I'm starving. Of course, we are not actually starving. It is an exaggeration, but that's how we feel. We need hunger. We need food now. And a 10 is you're so uncomfortably full, you've got to unbutton and unzip your pants, right at the table there. You feel like you're in a food coma or you have a food baby. These are all sayings that I have heard people come to me with and things that I have said in the past, right? You know that feeling of being uncomfortably full. You feel like you overdid it, right? So using the scale is going to take time and practice, but practice will help. At first, you're probably not going to know what the heck you're doing. That's totally fine. Don't give up. So these numbers in between are going to look different for everybody, but at least you have these starting points. We all know what these feel like, and then you can kind of gauge what each number in between feels like for you. So I recommend focusing on hunger levels first while you get started before you try to determine fullness levels. Hunger is more primal, hunger is more instinctive. It can be more challenging to get to know your satisfaction and fullness levels. So again, this is the beginning. These are the first 5 steps to intuitive eating. Start with hunger cues, okay? So knowing where your hunger falls on this scale and which hunger cues it's, often associated with. So again, for example, maybe this I'm so hungry is your stomach is growling, you're hangry, you've got a lot of things happening, right? I would say like an early hunger cue for me, I'm probably like here. I'm not super hungry, but I could eat, and I know that when I'm about here, that's when I start to get that dizzy spell. So again, over time and with practice, you'll be able to determine at which level you're at simply based on what your hunger cues are saying. So I'm not saying to disregard fullness, but I just want you to start by focusing on hunger first. So I guess I already talked through this slide. All right, there we go. So again, start with hunger. Knowing where your hunger falls on this scale, which hunger cues it's associated with, can help you determine if it's time for a meal versus time for a snack, right? So maybe if you're here on the hunger scale, you don't need a meal. Maybe you just need a small snack to cover you to be a little bit more comfortable here. So there's all sorts of nuances with this hunger scale and how it can be applied to a busy day, a super active day, a day where you have tons of time and you're just relaxing. Your life absolutely comes into play with the hunger scale, but we can get into that later. Okay, so step 4, we're going back to take your time and trust the process. I cannot stress this enough. The time and the patience is really key here. It's totally worth it. I just don't want you to think this is like flipping a switch. So have you ever heard the saying, the only way out is through? That's how becoming an intuitive eater works. The only way to reach the point of knowing your body like the back of your hand and reaching that point of complete trust in your body and in your intuition is to take the time to make it happen. So remember when I said we stopped listening to our intuition even as infants? We were all born as intuitive eaters. When we were hungry, we cried. When we were full, we refused to eat. Culture and diets and the media and even how foods are marketed have taken us far from where we started. So you've got to really practice and take your time through these steps. This is not me knocking any parenting styles. I'm going to talk about what I did myself with my son, but think about it. When he was born, babies cry when they're hungry, they refuse to eat when they're full. And yet many parents, myself included, do put our children on eating schedules, right? Even the hospital nurses recommended that I do this. It's not that there's anything wrong with that. I'm just saying, right from the very beginning of our lives, we are not always able to listen to our intuition. And then diet culture starts creeping in, unfortunately, at earlier and earlier ages these days. And it just compounds over time to where we're not even connected to our intuition at all by the time we are adults or wherever we are right now on this call, right? So you need to learn to trust that your body really does know what she needs. You've just got to get on the same page. And that can take some time. Step 5, get support. So maybe you've been trying to get into intuitive eating, but you keep hitting snags or obstacles, right? Maybe you tend to beat yourself up a lot over food. Maybe you carry a lot of shame or guilt surrounding food. How would it feel to be part of a community that's going through all of this learning, this unlearning diet and relearning your intuition? How would it feel to be part of a community that's going through that with you, right alongside of you? How would it feel to work through this process with somebody who has made it through to the other side, who dealt with every obstacle and struggle you could ever imagine with intuitive eating and has found a way to make it work and took the time and has that complete food freedom now? Support is everything, right? Really in everything we do, but it's also especially true when it comes to intuitive eating because this journey is challenging, but it's beyond worth it to leave years, for in my case, decades, 2 decades of dieting completely behind you and to know that you will never go back. Think of that feeling like you will never go on a diet again. You're never even going to have to worry about it. No New Year's diets, no post-vacation diets, no pre-vacation diets, none of the crap that we've been doing for so many years. And on top of that, you'll physically and mentally feel better than you ever have because your body is going to be functioning at its optimal state. It is a win-win, 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 win-win-win situation, all the wins, right? And I'm going to help you get there. I'm very excited to introduce to you my group coaching program called You Can Eat That. You Can Eat That is a 3-month high-level group intuitive eating coaching program. I'm going to walk you through these 5 steps in much greater detail, going way deeper, and take things much further to help you shift your mindset and really work to heal your relationship with food. I'm going to help you to get acquainted with your body and your individual hunger cues to help you identify what they are. I'm going to help you to navigate that hunger fullness scale to the fullest extent. I'm going to help you to recognize and interpret other body response signals that your body is going to give you throughout this time. And I'm going to take it a little bit deeper and I'm going to help you improve your gut health so that the signals you are receiving from your body are super clear and incredibly meaningful. So every week for 3 months, I'm going to drop a recorded lesson into a private online portal that you will have lifetime access to. So anytime I make updates to the program, anytime I add new trainings or new resources or new guides, you'll have access to everything that's updated based on your enrollment at this point. I'm also going to host live customized coaching calls every other week so that we can work through questions and struggles, but also celebrate wins and aha moments together. These are really, really powerful because we learn a lot from other people's experiences and actions. And what you'll see is that people will move through this journey at different paces. And it can be really, really helpful to see people in different parts of the journey to keep you motivated and to keep you inspired and to keep you excited. So these calls are completely custom and we'll hold them every other week. You will have unlimited access to me through an app that's called Voxer. So this is it's a free app on your phone. It's like a walkie-talkie, but you can also send text to it so that we can touch base at any point during the program. We'll have a one-on-one chat set up in there as well as a group chat so that we can support each other between calls and check in there weekly as well. That being said, I'm also available to my clients and to anybody, all of you, everybody who wants to talk about food. I love to talk about this stuff. You can message me anytime on Instagram, on Facebook, or via email. Voxer is going to be the best place for this group because that's where everybody will be together. Everybody in this group is going to receive a home gut health test that will analyze your DNA using a few strands of hair to find existing food sensitivities. It will also measure gut bacteria levels, digestive enzyme levels, key vitamin and mineral levels. And then we'll take your results and we'll set up a private one-on-one analysis call to review your results and develop an action plan that's based on your goals and preferences. I love this gut health test and analysis because it gives you a huge leg up and helps you take like 10 steps forward in your intuitive eating journey, because we know exactly where to start in terms of figuring out the different body response signals your body is going to send you. Huge leg up. In addition to that analysis call, you will also get one private one-on-one coaching call with me to discuss a topic of your choice. So anything related to nutrition, to gut health, to intuitive eating, to healing your relationship with food, to your mindset around food, the topic is totally your choice, but you will get one-on-one private coaching call with me as well. This program only has space for 10 individuals. I need to keep it to this size so that everybody can get the attention that they deserve and that everybody will have a chance to participate in the group calls. You're here, right? You registered, whether you're here live or here on the recording. I would love it for you to be part of this. You already took the first step, right, to finding food freedom, to becoming an intuitive eater. We're going to start the week of March 1st. And I just want to share some words from previous clients and You Can Eat That graduates to show you what is in this for you. So Alex says, I really can't say enough good things about the You Can Eat That program and Becky in general. I absolutely love her approach to not only intuitive eating, but also this program, because it felt like a bunch of girlfriends getting together every week and chatting through what we were going through and what we were thinking. When I first started, my goal was to really just gain that food freedom, and I feel like I truly have, which felt really unattainable. I'm sure we can all relate to this feeling unattainable and feeling impossible. I was a perpetual dieter, trying new things. Then I'd lose weight, then I'd stop and gain weight. I always felt like, how can I ever just live and not be on a diet? Not only did I gain food freedom, but I also discovered a major food sensitivity that had been affecting my life for years. Becky helped me figure out that it was a soy sensitivity. Alex's story is really interesting to me because she had seen multiple doctors over extreme discomfort and getting sick, and no one was able to pinpoint this sensitivity. The gut health analysis in this program helped her to do that, and it's been a huge life change for her. Nicole says, my experience with the You Can Eat That class was above my expectations. Having Becky in my corner with anything I needed is so helpful. Knowing how to properly fuel my body and not feeling guilty about food has changed my life. I never knew I could feel this good. When I first signed up for the class, I knew it was going to be good because Becky is amazing. That's very sweet of her to say. But she really taught us so many ins and outs of what I didn't know. You have nothing to lose when joining the class. Having weekly calls is great. Not only do you meet new people, which is always fun, but it really keeps you on track in case you feel like you're starting to quote unquote fall off. But I don't feel guilty anymore about food. And that for me is a huge game changer. Also, I love that Nicole said she knows that she can always come to me, because I always tell my clients, you're stuck with me until you tell me to leave you alone. I'm going to be here for you forever. Sally says, I'm so grateful for my time working with Becky. I learned so much from her, but the most important thing I think was healing my relationship with food after many years of cycling through diet culture. I still have a lot of work to do, but I am so much more mindful when I eat. I listen to my body and I honor what I'm craving. I don't feel guilty after a more indulgent meal or feel like I need to immediately start over the next day. I think about how delicious that meal was, and then I think about how I can best nourish my body next. Erica says, Becky suggested a gut analysis check for me, and I took the dive and did it. It showed me so many things that I had no idea were affecting my gut health and overall health. I've done some trial and error with the suggestions, and they are spot on. I can definitely see a difference in my body when I removed things for a while that showed my body to be reactive to. She was very positive and informative, and I will be reaching out for coaching soon. Jennifer says, I feel so blessed to have found Becky in my life. She is so patient, loving, and a joy to work with. I love that she gives me the boost right when I need it. When I think I can't, she reminds me I can. She also doesn't give up on anyone. I asked for tough love and she gave it to me in such a rewarding way. I've had the privilege to work with Becky for 2 years now and my whole life has changed. I am 15 pounds smaller and healthy. I enjoy eating well. If it wasn't for her, I would still be an emotional eater. That used to occur a lot with my military husband being gone most of the time. She taught me that my body deserves so much more. I will forever be grateful for this amazing woman who taught me balance, patience, and consistency. You deserve this too, okay? These are life-changing feelings. You deserve to have food freedom. You deserve to live in peace and harmony with your body. I honestly can't think of anything that I'd like to help you with more than this. If you're ready to step into your power here, if you're ready to quit dieting for life, if you're ready to eat intuitively and to find food freedom, here's your next step. Log into Instagram, send a message to me. This is @_foodieturnedfit. All you need to say is masterclass. I'll ask you a few questions to make sure that this is a good fit. And if it is, I'll send you a direct invite with full details, investment, and bonus options. I know a lot of you found this masterclass through my Facebook page. If you have an Instagram, great, shoot me a message. If you don't have an Instagram, that's fine. You can shoot me a message, same thing, just say masterclass right on Facebook. The bonuses for this round are insane. I added like a lot for my masterclass attendees. I'm really excited to share them with you. In addition to the bonuses that are available, I'm offering a huge discount to anyone who's attended this masterclass live or watched the recording, but the discount is only applicable for the next 48 hours. So if you're excited about this, send me a message right now on whatever platform. I'm going to answer messages in the order that they come through. And again, I cannot accept more than 10 women for this round of the program. So go ahead, pull up your Instagram, pull up a Facebook, and shoot me a message, and we will chat tonight. In the meantime, I'm going to exit the full screen so that I can look at some of your questions. And if you have questions that you didn't ask, you can shoot them here. I'm going to turn my camera back on. All right, can I answer any questions for anybody? That's great. If you don't have questions, I'm happy that I was able to answer them for you. Tony, I see your.
Do you want us to put the questions?
Sorry, what was that?
I'm sorry. Do you want us to put the questions in the chat or just?
Totally up to you.
Oh, I mean, I just feel like I'm always hungry. I'm always.
So to me,
like I ate a lot and now I'm hungry again. Like, why am I hungry again?
well, yeah. So your body is definitely telling you something. If you're constantly feeling hungry, you're not eating enough. There are a few things that could come into play here, or a few things that you could tweak to make your meals satiate you for longer, right? So obviously I don't know your eating habits. I don't know what you're currently eating. But what I like to recommend just as a general tip, right? If you can combine multiple food groups together, specifically our macronutrients, which would be a protein, a carb, and a fat together, that will help your body to feel satisfied for longer and to feel more full. So a mistake I see a lot of people make, this is a mistake that I used to make as well, is saying, oh, well, I'm hungry, but I feel like I've already eaten too much, right? Or I feel like I'm consuming too many calories, or I feel like I'm hungry too often. And so we try to make sure what we're eating is like as low calorie as possible. So I'll be like, I'm just going to eat vegetables, or I'm just going to eat a plain salad. Obviously, vegetables are excellent for us for sure, but they're not going to be enough to satisfy us. We need carbs. We need protein. Protein is going to help us stay satisfied for longer. Carbs are going to help our body function and have more energy. So my tip for you right off the bat, Tony, is going to be to combine multiple food groups together, protein, carbs, and fat, especially if you can find some extra fiber-filled foods that can be included in there. That's going to help you feel more satisfied. But if you're feeling hungry, your body needs more. So Carolyn asked, that's good. If you need it, you need it. That's the thing that I think trips so many people up is we think that there's like a set amount of food that we should be eating, either based on what other people are eating or based on the fact that we're women. I eat so much more than my husband does. Like, I'm just going to throw that out there. That's okay. Like, I'm eating based on what my body needs. You need to do the same thing. But I think by combining macronutrients like that, it's definitely a start. I would need to know a little bit more about your day-to-day and your eating habits, but that's definitely going to be a good start.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Carolyn asked how much this is. There are actually multiple different enrollment options. So if you want to shoot me a message, I have a document that outlines all of the different price points for enrollment, and we'll talk through if it's a fit, and then that is available to everybody as well. It feels like a lot compared to yeah, exactly. So Leah said it feels like a lot compared to the 1,200 calorie meal plans we see on Instagram. That's so true. So obviously, without getting into like a whole brand new workshop, I do want to respect your time. When I was in a dieting cycle, just to give you a little bit more history of how I used to eat, every meal plan, every diet, that I could follow, even if they're marketed as a lifestyle, like Noom, for example, or Weight Watchers, or even Beachbody, or anything that is, plug in this information and we'll give you an idea of how much to eat. Everything told me to eat 1,200 calories a day. Okay. When I actually learned about nutrition and became a nutritionist and became a functional nutritionist, when I realized how much food I actually needed to function, like I'm talking basic function, digestion, breathe, speak, like I'm eating over 2,000 calories a day. I don't track my calories, but like that's my aim, is somewhere around there. Like anywhere from 2,000 to 2,500 calories a day is an insane difference between a diet that told me to eat 1,200 calories. That's not even enough for me to get through a day without a workout, right? So I think often we see a lot of things like this, where it's a low calorie meal plan or guide or target, and it's just not enough. We shouldn't be afraid of food. And then Tony, I also just want to acknowledge, you put in the chat that you're addicted to junk food. So a lot of times when this happens, it's because excuse my dog coughing right next to me. Again, please relax. Thank you. Rude. No, it's because we have these rules and restriction around them in our head, right? So they're like this forbidden fruit. And our body, we as humans are like natural rebels. We don't really like being told what to do. Our body doesn't like being told that it can't have something. Think about it like a child. I use children as an example all the time because I'm a relatively newish mom. But if you tell a child that they can't push a button, right, in a room, they're going to want to push the button. That's all they're going to want to do. They're not going to be able to think about anything else. When you say that you can't have certain foods, you think about them way more. They're like up on this pedestal and they're this unattainable, off limits thing. And then when we finally give ourselves access to it, excuse my language again, because I do curse sometimes, but one of my clients deemed the term, she gets a case of the fuckets, right? And so she's like, eventually I get a case of the fuckets and I eat a ton of the food that I have been restricting, or this food that you deemed bad. And it's because subconsciously your body is like, eat it all before she takes it away again. We're not gonna be able to have it for so long. And you consume, which then leads to feelings of guilt and shame, because diet culture tells you that you shouldn't be doing that. And then you go back into that starting point of restriction and deprive to not eat that thing. And the cycle begins, and it happens over and over and over again. And the reality is, like, if we just allowed ourselves to have whatever you're deeming junk food, right, when we first wanted it, and we realized that it was something that's available to us at any point, it eventually is no longer this special food, right? It's no longer this thing that we have to like take and take and take because we don't know when we're going to get it again, right? So this takes time as well. But a lot of people think that sugar is addicting. It really isn't. Sugar isn't actually addicting. It's just that we have this mentality that we can't have it. And so now it's all we think about. It's so wild how deep diet culture runs through our veins at this point. Any other questions that I can answer? All right. Well, thank you guys for hopping on live. If you're watching the recording, thank you for watching the recording. I look forward to hearing from you and working with you in the future, and you can eat that.
Thank you so much.
I hope you have a great night.
You too.
Thank you.
you.